Hello there Final Fantasy gamers. In this video I'm going to take a brief look at the Turks, the ever stylish intelligence agency that is likely to feature heavily in Final Fantasy VII Remake and cross swords with Cloud and the gang on more than one occasion. In the run up to the much anticipated release of Final Fantasy VII Remake, I'm planning to do a few of these videos looking at different characters or aspects of the world of Final Fantasy VII, so please comment below if you are interested in seeing more of these. Also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe too. Also, please bear in mind that there will be some spoilers if you haven't played the original Final Fantasy VII, so please take that into account if you want to go into the remake fully cold. So who are the Turks? Let's start by taking a quick look at the events they were involved in before the events of Final Fantasy VII. Even though they are commonly known as the Turks, the group's official name is the Investigation Sector of the General Affairs Department, which definitely sounds a lot less cool. The Turks work within Shinra's Department of Public Safety and carry out dirty work on behalf of the corporation, including intelligence gathering, espionage, kidnappings and even assassinations, making them a rather dangerous group to attract the attention of. The Turks are also well known for their sense of style, as for the most part they are seen wearing either blue or black suits to add to their air of professionalism. Even though they are seen wearing blue in Final Fantasy VII itself, they were black in other entries of the Final Fantasy VII compilation, including Advent Children, Before Crisis and Last Order. Even though most members seem to take their appearance seriously, certain individuals seem less bothered. And yes, Reno, this means you. Before the events of Final Fantasy VII come to pass, members of the Turks had already come into contact with the first iteration of Avalanche, as well as Soldier First Class Zack Fair and Cloud Strife as they attempted to escape the clutches of Shinra. The Turks were given the task of repelling the first incarnation of Avalanche, which was led by Elfe, Fajito and Shears, as the Eco Group attempted to challenge Shinra and prevent the company from continuing its exploitation of the planet's Mako energy. Even though Avalanche was unable to take on Shinra directly due to their size, the group attempted to use ruthless tactics to try and do as much damage as possible and force Shinra's hand, as depicted in Before Crisis. These tactics included trying to bomb the Sector 8 reactor in Midgar, take control of the cannon at Junon and use it to attack Midgar, and destroy another reactor near Coral. However, whenever the group tried to carry out their plans, they were often stopped in their tracks by the Turks, who at the time were led by a man named Veld rather than Tseng, and who had more members than were ever seen in the original Final Fantasy VII, including Reno and Rude. Without wanting to go into too much detail about the events of Before Crisis, because that would require a video all of its own, it's worth mentioning that Rufus Shinra, the President's son, was actually captured by the Turks during the Coral incident so that they could use him as leverage to try and save Veld and Elfe, who turned out to be Veld's daughter. This is interesting given that later on in Final Fantasy VII, and particularly Advent Children, Rufus and the Turks are very closely associated with one another. As I mentioned earlier, the Turks also played a significant role in tracking Zack and Cloud after they escaped from Shinra's mansion in Nibelheim following the reactor incident and Hojo's experiments. Some of these events can be seen in Crisis Core and the anime Last Order, which shows members of the Turks, including Cisne, attempting to help Zack and Cloud rather than capture or kill them. However, unfortunately, they were unable to do this before the Shinra army intercepts the two fugitives and chooses to kill them, rather than letting the Turks take all the credit. It's quite interesting to see the more nuanced approach of the Turks in Last Order, especially Tseng, who ponders what the fates of Zack and Cloud would have been had the disastrous Nibelheim incident not taken place, and whether they are planning to snatch their freedom away from them once again. This contrasts quite a lot with their depiction in Final Fantasy VII itself, and later in Advent Children. When we first run into the Turks in Final Fantasy VII, they are presented as being quite intimidating opponents, at least during the first few encounters, such as Reno in the church and Rude in the Shinra building, and opponents that are willing to do anything in the name of Shinra, whether it's kidnapping Aerith or destroying an entire sector of Midgar to try and frame Avalanche. Yet once we've left Midgar, for the rest of the game they are basically used as cannon fodder or comic relief, which always struck me as odd. While I like the characters, it's hard to forget that these likeable fools orchestrated the destruction of an entire section of Midgar, which presumably killed thousands of innocent people, as well as Jesse, Biggs and Wedge. This makes me wonder about how the Turks will be presented in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Will they once again be used largely for comic relief, to offset some of the story's darker moments? Or will they be made more intimidating enemies that pose more of a threat to Aerith and Avalanche overall? One thing seems certain though, we're going to see a lot more of them in Midgar. Not least because we've already seen them in two scenes that don't appear in the original game. One in which Cloud and Aerith meet Rude in an area that seems to be on the outskirts of the city, and another where Tseng confronts Aerith, probably before capturing her. Personally, I hope that they are not just tougher enemies to beat, but also that we see more of them throughout the entire game. It will also be interesting to see if we are introduced to more Turks than appeared in the original Final Fantasy VII, and whether or not Alina makes an appearance in the first part of the story. Perhaps this is wishful thinking, as we've only seen Reno, Rude and Tseng in the trailers, but the fact that we have already been introduced to a new character in the form of Rosh gives me hope that there will also be other members of the Turks. Anyway, now I'd love to hear your thoughts. Are you a fan of Reno, Rude and the gang and hoping to see more of the sharply dressed agents in Final Fantasy VII Remake? Or would you rather see new characters introduced and less time spent in the company of the Turks? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe as well, as I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, Final Fantasy gamers, until next time, thanks for watching.